I want to welcome you to BNN 247. I'm War Smith Bay, your host today, and I do have a co-host who I will introduce in just a moment. I would like to say that the system has caused us a situation in America that we act like we don't know what the problem is. But the problem is so obvious, we don't want to blame the people at fault. Now, back in the 60s and 70s, the objective of the government was to remove men from the household. And they were very successful at it. And they were very successful at it because they had the black woman to help. And in many cases, you can't always blame the black woman for helping them do what they did because they were receiving the benefits of what of the consequences and the benefits of what they did. They did it because of necessity. First, the government starved us out with no jobs. The man couldn't get a job to save his damn life, so he dealt drugs. Now, the government says your man can't support this household and we're going to support it. You can't have that man in here. We're going to be your man. So the government ran the men out of the household. So now the women are doing the best they can to raise these boys. So now when the man is gone, the boy starts to come of age, 10, 11, and 12 years old. The woman, the mother, wants the son not to feel so abandoned by his father. So she tells him, you're the man of the house. And by telling him he's the man of the house, he starts to think that he is the man of the house. So as he grows older, he sees what's happening in the community. So he gets a little anxious to protect his mother and his family and his neighborhood by any means necessary. So these men of the house, these 12 and 13-year-old boys, have grown up to be assassins because they seen their mother get beat, they seen their mother get robbed, probably seen their mother get raped. They've seen all these things that were done to their mother. So they have built up this inner anger that they have to let out, and they're not going to let it out against the white man. But if the black man gets in the way, he's dead. It's just that damn simple to me. But this is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black City, USA, broadcasting the news every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. I'm sorry, every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. and again on Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'm War Smith, your host, and I'd like to welcome our co-hosts, Mr. Claude Foster and Mr. Chuck Slaughter. I say thank you guys for joining me today in our new segment of the man of the house. And I know we are the men of our houses, but I see the certain problem in our culture that causes us to take a second look and say, well, why did the federal government make it so important to remove the man from the household? You know, what do you think? Y'all there, right? What do y'all think?
Chuck, you want to go first?
You sure? Go ahead. Now, Claude, Chuck,
Oh,
Chuck,
yeah,
you
go
on
ahead,
mute.
Chuck. We missed you last week, Chuck. We want to hear your voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go first, Chuck. Unmute yourself.
All right, guys. All right. If that's the way you feel about it, I'll go first. I like leaders, though, But my thing is about the man of the house. That's a very important topic. Is you know, it still goes back into slavery when the slave master empowered the female over the male. And this is where I have to, and I'm just starting to build it up. This is where I have to pay a lot of respect and thanks and glory to the black woman because of everything that she had to go through in slavery just to protect her father, her husband, her son. She had to go through a lot. and she deserves to be recognized and treasured and and praised and whatever for that time. But it is at a time, I think, that we as men, we have to step back up to the plate, you see. Now, these young men today, I hate to say it, but to me, I think they've been feminized and the roles have been turned over. Whereas the woman is the head of the house, the breadwinner, and stuff like that, and the man is the house husband, taking care of the kids and stuff like that, and letting her take care of him. As a masculine man myself, I understand my role. I think that was given to me by God, as a protector, as a provider, as an authoritarian, of his creations. Okay. Now, he gave us a woman, and then she's supposed to be our helpmate and all that kind of good stuff. That's good. And I understand a lot of our sisters and some other women too had to get out into the economy and work and help the father, help take care of the family. They didn't have time to raise the children the right way. And the right way is the way that many white mothers had the time to raise their children the proper way, as opposed to the black woman having to be out there helping the black man try to make ends meet with the food and stuff, So I think we have to have another movement in America to reestablish, especially in the black culture, the rightful order of the family, with the man being at the head of the family and not staying at home being taken care of by the woman. Strong women may not need a strong man. We may need a strong man that wants to do what God intended for them to do, which is to provide and protect for their family. Maybe you need to find a woman that is willing to play her role, which is to be the nurturer and the homemaker and educator of the children. That's primarily her goal. And when she's out there in the world trying to be a provider, then the children are getting left short. And the feminist movement was dangerous to our youth today, because the mother's out of the house, the father out of the house, and the youth are there on their own, and they've been branded that you can do what you want to do now. And because at 18 years old, the government takes our children away from us and tells them, you don't have to listen to your parents no more. Do what you want to do. And that's where they feel today, And that's
a very good observation.
They in politics as well.
You said some things that were very interesting to me. You said something about the slave master empowering the women. And then you said something about being authoritarian in your own home. And then you mentioned strong black women. So I'm just going to throw that out there as seeds, and then we're going to listen to Mr. Clark.
Well, it's an interesting topic. I tend to agree with you, Brother Bay. I think anytime this racist systems attack the black structure, the black family structure, I think it's by design. The criminal industrial complex, all these, the economic system, everything that kind of separates a family unit is by design. So I don't think it's just a happenstance. Anytime, and then when we get into this basic unit, there's a reason why God created man. He didn't create a boy first. He created man with manly responsibilities. And I think we have a system, we have a racist system that anytime black folks develop any kind of structure, whether it's an economic structure, as in Tulsa, whether it's a family structure, this system tries to destroy it. And so what we find ourselves talking about is the after effects. right in your state of Mississippi, Governor Reeves just announced in a black city an all-out attack on the black community by uh, this police force that they're building up. And
Capitol Police. It's the Capitol Police.
He did it during Black History Month, and then Chokwe right there with him said it's not an attack on black folks, but they need to get a hold of the criminal element in the community. Who do you think they're talking about? They're talking about these black boys that don't have opportunities. They're not going after the drug supplier. They're going after the drug dealer. Or they're not going after the criminal at the head of the food chain, because that looks like Governor Reeves. Mm-hmm. So what you have in talking about any of these issues is systematic racism designed to destroy the black family vis-a-vis the black existence in this country.
You're absolutely on point. Both of you are on point. I mean, it's by design, and the system is designed to destroy the black family. And these kids are out of control, right? Like you said, Jackson, Mississippi, the governor just declared war on black people.
On black people.
So they're going to give them first a curfew, and anybody they find outside of that curfew, they're going to start gunning them down. I can just about bet that that's what they're going to do. But the bottom line is these boys are no older than 15 to 19, maybe 20. These are kids. They don't know jack shit but shooting up shit. They showed me a video the other day where the boy was standing up outside of the sunroof with an automatic submachine gun, just laying out some bullets out in some community. But that is the type of stuff they're dealing with right now. But they don't realize they're going to be up against some people who don't give a damn about dying.
But what produced that, though? I mean, they said, like, you got a certain time frame to raise a child, say from 5 to 13, to discipline that child. After 13, if you ain't done it by then, it's too late in terms of that child having any kind of boundaries and understanding the consequences of their action.
That's what I say about the government taking our children away from us.
System, all of our systems, when we find situations like that, these racist systems have created what we're seeing in our communities. Go ahead, Chuck. You trying to?
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I was saying about when I said when the government takes our youth away from us, our kids away from us when they turn 18, because at that point their brain, their mind, is not fully developed to the where they can make serious decisions. They still need the guidance of their parents, but if you tell them you don't have to listen to your parents anymore, then they want to just move out, do whatever they want to do.
I will push back on you. I mean, it ain't so much the guidance of the parents, because it's the guidance of a man in that family, or the absence of a man in that family.
Well, that's true. Absence of a man in the family. And I say parents. I didn't say woman. I said parents, because it takes two parents to raise a child. To make a child and to raise a child, it takes two parents, and we should advocate for every child deserves to have their biological mother and father raise them. Now, I'm guilty of a divorce myself, but you live and you learn.
Be that what it may, you know we don't have the daddy and the mother in the house of our black family.
Not all. That's not true across the board, though. That's not true across the board.
That's where the problem lies.
It's mostly prevalent in the lower income brackets. You know,
I think
the middle income, but I think divorce rates are and living together and stuff like that is highest in the barrel where I am, in the lower income brackets of our society.
I push back on that. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the consequences are more visible in that sector of society, but I don't think it's any different regardless of whether it's a middle class family, whether there's no male presence, or even higher. So I think the consequences may be a little bit more visible at the lower income levels, but I think that the results and the impact is the same.
I don't know. I know the consequences are more prevalent in the lower income period. Yeah, when someone in the middle class or a high class society go through a divorce, the father's not in the house, but his money is in the house. His love is in the house. So the
That's
kids
the
have
issue right there.
about
That's it, Chuck. You hit the nail on the head. The money is there, the love is there, but the mother is raising the boy, and
Okay,
he's now the man of the house.
how come you got middle and upper middle class kids trying to be gangsters? You living in a $400,000 house, but you trying to be a gangster, or you trying to present yourself that way? So it happens across the board. So I just think it's a breakdown of that male structure is one problem, and then I think that women cannot fulfill that role. They just can't.
That's a fact.
absolutely true. I got cut off there for a little bit when you started to respond to my remark there.
And my wife would disagree with
Apologize.
me, and probably Brother Bay, your wife would probably disagree with you. But
Well, the thing about it, we the man of the house. It's okay to disagree. Now, the one thing about being a man of the house, you got to your wife is your partner. She's your better half. Okay?
So just
So
a question:
you got
are they
to-
supposed to obey?
Huh?
Are they supposed to obey?
Are they supposed to obey? Well, I would think. Do you obey your boss at work? Do you obey? Is it wrong to obey? Yes, they should obey, but you should be the one to make this final decision. Okay, then the right way to do the thing. If you and your wife sit down, you got an issue that you got to discuss. And she may have an idea about how to solve the issue, and you may have an idea about how to solve the issue. Now, you being the man of the house, it matters, okay? This is why it matters, because now, if she is right, now you got to be man enough to admit it that she's right and we're going to do it your way. And I just had the last word, and I said, this is what we're going to do. I just had the last word. But if she's wrong, I got to explain to her why her way is not sufficient enough to do what we have to do as opposed to my way. And
which I grew up in the South, and I would push back a little bit again. It was even in situations, our whole family structure has changed. Even if you just had a mother, say that the father was dead, you had an uncle, you had a grandfather, or somebody that fulfilled that manly role. You don't have that today.
Well, we know we don't have that today, but that's what needs to be reestablished. When we came up, we had a man in the house.
Well, it didn't have to be in the house.
He might not have
Not
been
all
with
of us,
them in some cases, but he was in the house.
Nope, not all of us.
Didn't always have to be in the
I
house.
didn't.
But they was in the neighborhood. They was in the
You
community.
you didn't have your father in the house,
I didn't know.
Claude?
My daddy was in the military. He was off somewhere.
But he was in the family. He was working for the
Well, the
family.
thing is, but we had an extent. You talk about slavery, and you talk about taking men from the plantations, but there was other men that stepped in. In our time period, there were men in the community. There were men, uncles, and you had other men in the community that kind of filled that role.
That took an interest, yeah,
Right.
see,
in how the children were growing.
Right.
I think that what I think is that there's a formula for raising a successful child in this country. And if we
but I think what you said about women are supposed to obey, you ever watch Kevin Samuels? I mean, he's deceased, but y'all ever watch him?
Yeah, I know.
Did your wife watch him?
No.
Does your wife watch Kevin Samuels?
I don't even know who he is.
Oh, you don't know who he is? Yeah.
No.
He doesn't watch him. My wife.
I mean, what I'm saying is, it ain't just the absence of man that is part of the problem. It's the disrespect of men in general. It's this whole our society seems to be out of order.
Let me ask you this. You got a 12-year-old boy that you telling him to be the man of the house, right? And then all of a sudden, mama gets a wild hair and she's got a man coming in and out of the house. And this boy saying, well, I'm the man of the house. And he sees this man coming in and out of there. Don't you think that's going to affect that boy? He's going to get angry about that. And he's going to want to say something to that grown man. And if he does, he's probably going to get his ass whooped. But he's got that built up anger inside of him. And so now he's taking it to the street because he know if he go does something in that house, he's going to have to suffer the consequences.
Well, that was a movie. There was a movie. You saw the movie where the son, a situation like that, where the guy came to
Baby, what was it? I saw it. Tyrese was in there when Ben Rames moved into the house. I don't know if y'all saw that movie.
Yeah, Baby Boy.
What was the name of it?
Baby Boy.
Yeah, Baby Boy. So Baby Boy didn't want to leave the house. He was his mother's protector. But when Ben Rames moved in there, he had all the problems with him. He did not like that man. He wanted him to get the hell up out of there. And Ben Rames wasn't going nowhere. So it was a good display of what we're talking about right now, about the man being the man in the house. And that's a strong situation. But the whole idea of that 12-year-old boy being the man in the house goes back to how we look at it. Goes back to how we look at these kids growing up. We were like that too when we were young, but now we're grown people, and we came out okay without a father in the house. I did. I feel like I came out okay without a father in the house. But today it's a whole different story. I mean, the kids ain't nothing like we were. And I think the one element that's missing from the entire system is the community. Because I knew men all up and down the block. And if I did something,
Chuck, you there?
Pass out and send me home. You know, but now
Chuck, you there?
Ain't nobody gonna mess with your kid out there on the street today.
Mm-mm. Well, because kids, I mean, you see, I mean, most of the shootings here in Houston, most of the shootings there in Jackson, these are young kids with automatic rifles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
where they getting these rifles from?
Right, where they, you know.
Well, I've heard a couple of theories about it, but you know, they're just theories. I've heard they come into the black community in the back of pickup trucks under tarps, and they put them out there real cheap. It's a part of the program to kill them, let them kill each other. You know, come from these gun shows and stuff. You can go to these gun shows and pick them up without a license from a private person. That's why they're trying to put a loophole in those gun shows so private people can't go there and sell the guns to these kids. Anyway, you know, but the solution, I think we have to be a strong family structure, and it has to be a strong man at the head of the family. And yes, the family needs to obey him.
So how do you get him back in the house?
His responsibility is to protect them. And if I can't protect you, a general will tell you, son, if I can't protect you, if you can't listen to me, I can't protect you.
How do you get the man back in the house?
Well, he put himself back in there.
I mean,
and he lets this woman know, I'm here, and this is the way I run my house.
They've been doing this for 20, 30 years now, developing these boys to be the way they are.
That's why we need to have the masculinity movement.
It's
time for us to have a masculinity movement in this country and put it back in order.
What is that?
Yeah, what is that, Chuck?
It's where men step up to the plate and do just like the women did in the feminist movement. When they had this movement about their being independent, they ain't go, the men of this and the men of that. Men got all this. Yeah, we supposed to have that.
Well, some people would argue that that black folks getting involved, black women getting involved with the feminist movement is part of the problem.
That is part of the problem. When they started fighting for feminist rights, they stopped fighting for civil rights. They stopped fighting for black rights. You know?
Well, there was someone.
I got an article I'm gonna send to you guys. I saved it. I got it off of Facebook. It was on the Atlantic Star, Georgia, and it shows the progress of the flight of black people in America from I guess I'm gonna say around the 30s, 40s, somewhere along in there, all the way up to I don't know how far it went up there, but I'll send the article to you. But it showed the flight that in a certain point of the time, let's say in the mid 40s, okay, the unemployment rate between the black man and the white man was the 0 for the white man, 2% for the black man. Everybody was working. 15 years later, the unemployment for the black man, it went up to like 19% and 6% for the white man. Okay. And Larry Elder, who was running on the Republican ticket for president, and put a finger on why the black man wasn't in the family. He mentioned that in 1946, 1947, when the welfare system started going around to the homes by foot, knocking on the doors and telling the mothers and the family that, well, we can take care of the mother and the children, but we can't take care of the father. And the father had to leave the house so that the mother and the children could eat. Okay.
Well, we know what the problem is. We know that it's basically the number one issue is that man is not there in the house. So I'm trying to figure out, what do we do about all these orphans out there? And I'm calling them orphans because they don't have fathers that are there to coach them into being a man. So they got the Boys and Girls Club, they got the YMCA, but they got the Boy Scouts. But our black children don't partake in most of these events. They don't partake in community events. They don't go to social events with the community. They go to events with their little clique, and somehow they get pulled into that little clique, and they get pulled into that little clique at public schools because the black kids are no longer being taught how to be a smart young man in school. They graduate high school not knowing how to go out and buy any big item. They don't know how to balance checkbook. They don't know how to open a bank account. They don't know very much of nothing. They don't know how to even write a check. If they don't write checks no more, but they don't. Only thing they know how to do is be slick and get around and hide and do things behind people's backs. And you got something, Chuck?
Yeah, let me ask you a question now. They get the same education as white kids get in the school, right?
No.
Do they? Huh?
No, they don't. You want me to explain?
Yeah, because right now,
just like there are 2 tiers of justice, there's 2 tiers of education. Black kids and white kids sitting side by side. That black kid gonna be watched for cheating, disciplinary issues, and other insubordinated issues. That white kid gonna be looked at for excellence. Are you sick? Can I show you something else? Can I help you solve this problem? Let the black kid ask for help. You should know this by now, Johnny. You've been in here long enough. Johnny ain't gonna stand that bullshit. You ain't gonna talk to Johnny like that.
Yeah, but there's so many successful black children graduate out of school. Okay, I think it got to be to the child. It's got to be a personal thing that you go there and you do what is expected of you to get that education. We can't give them a pass. Okay, they got to perform. Okay, now
that ain't even. They come to school as a gangster, Chuck. How they going to school? They ain't going to school to learn.
We got to get back to the home. We got to get back into the home, bro.
It's back at the home. And
Yes,
then if you
you
get to the
gotta get
home,
it
you
back.
got to back it up
That's
even
why the
further.
man,
Back
the
to
man has
government.
got to step into the house and lay down the rules. You
Yeah,
see, you got to step into
get
the house
shot
and lay
by that
down the
15
rules.
year old. Get taken out by
Yes.
that 15 year
And
old.
if it can't, if I tell you what, you start laying down the rules before they go get engaged.
What
You
are
start
some
Well,
of
laying
the,
down the
not
rules
get,
then.
I mean, it to me, the bottom line is a woman raising a boy. I think when that boy hits 8, 9 years old, if there is no man in that boy's house, that woman need to go out and make that shit happen, because that boy gonna turn into I ain't gonna say all of them, but most of them are gonna go down the wrong road because they don't have the man in the house.
That's
look,
true.
look at the number of women who get divorces with sons, knowing the impact that we're a selfish society today. We have children,
Yes.
but when it comes to making the right decisions for those children over our own individual needs
Right.
and
Right.
urges, we
Right.
choose the latter.
Right.
And I
Right.
don't know how do you put Genie back in the box. I think
You as a man,
feminism has a
you
lot
set
to
the
do with it.
platform in the beginning. You
Feminism
set the
has a lot to do.
platform. And
Feminism has a
if
lot
she
to do
can't
with
agree
it.
to that platform, then you cut it. You don't put yourself in that position where you got to compete with her for the power in your home. That's
Well,
a
like I say,
given. You have the power.
by the time a male is 13 years old, if they don't have the discipline and the training by then, it's too late.
That's why we got to work with our young men today. We got this is something gonna have to be grown out of the society. Okay.
And I think economics. I mean, you're right, Brother Bay. There's a lot of different, boys and girls clubs. You got YMCA's. You got all kind of organizations. You got, like we don't raise our daughter alone. She's in Jack and Jill. We got another activities and stuff. You got the churches. I mean, so you got a lot of resources out there. But if they're not part of that child's network, they don't get the benefit of that additional help. And I mean, and you add that on the part of women's attitude about needing a man, about the man's role in the home. I don't need a man to raise my children. I don't need a man.
There you
I got
go.
my education. I got my.
There you go. And that's why men.
They don't need a man.
That's why a man got to protect the seed, bro. A man got to protect the seed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Black News Network, the real voice.
Women calling in already.
If you decide to call in and voice your attention and comments, it's 210-872-2261. 210-872-2261. Go ahead, Clark.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Chuck. I mean,
the blueprint. Let me give you an example of the blueprint that we as men need to start working with young men, like we're talking about Save Our Sons. We need to start working with them on a blueprint. And the blueprint is this. We got to teach these young men the importance of getting a good education and preparing themselves to have a family. That should be their ultimate goal. Get a good education, make enough money that you can buy a home and support a family.
So Chuck, we know that we can develop the program in 30 minutes to bring them back. But the bottom line is, how do you get to the point to develop that program? That is where the problem lies. You can't get to the point where you can implement that program. That's what we need to figure out, how to get there and implement the program through these single mothers with these 9-year-old and older boys, that this is what needs to happen. But on the same note, how do these boys be on the street at midnight? All these teenagers on the street at midnight and 10 or 11 o'clock at night, how are they getting on the street when they got a single? They might have just their mother home, but the mothers are letting them out? Are they letting the children go out that late at night?
Well, mom works so much, dad works so much, they go to bed, go to sleep, and then the kid jumps up and slips out the house, maybe steal the car and go for a joyride and all that kind. They slipping, they breaking rules at home. No consequences for them to break the rules at home. You know?
But you know, when I was growing up, we stole the car, we wrecked the car, we did that kind of stuff. But I think the consequences seem a little bit different today. The actions and the consequences seem to be. I don't never remember wielding.
It's all blamed on.
Consequences.
There's not a man. It's all
dad.
blamed on. There's not a man in the house.
But what I'm saying is, we did the same things that kids do today. It just seems like it's more violent today. More. I don't ever remember having a gun. I mean, is it accessibility to weapons? I mean, what is it? Is it? I think it's. I mean, kids have always been out, after midnight.
It's pretty sad that we're having this conversation, and we don't have any women on here to defend what we have to say. But what it boils down to me is we're out there making babies and we're not raising our babies. We're allowing, I think a man that brings a boy into this world should take a particular interest in making sure that boy grow up. No matter what that woman does, he can be standing across the street waving at him if that's all he wanted, that's all she'll let him do. But eventually that's gonna break down and he gonna get to see his boy. But if he doesn't have the drive, the intestinal fortitude to get over there to see his son and make sure his son don't turn into a gay or anything else, then we can't expect nothing else. I don't want to just say it's the woman's fault, because the man got a responsibility too. He might be sending out big money in child support, but your responsibility is bigger than that. Your responsibility is ensuring that boy carry your seed to the next generation. And that boy ain't carrying your seed nowhere if you ain't allowing that boy to become a man. That boy gonna become a he, she, or something like that. I don't know. He's not gonna be the man that he should be when he grow up, because you, as that man, didn't get in his life and try and make a difference. You were too busy out there trying to impregnate somebody else. That's the problem.
That's the history. That's the history, and we should have learned from the history. Now, just because we are a part of that history, our knowledge today should be so much more important to the young men that we're trying to talk to, because we're talking to them from experience. And we know how to tell you to avoid these potholes in the road that you got to come across.
You said something. Why would they listen to you?
Why wouldn't they listen to me?
Question.
Who else can they listen to? Who else can they listen to?
Hey, that's my point with you, Chuck. I'm asking you. You saying they should hear what we have to say, but the boy is gonna look at you and say, "Well, why should I listen to you?"
If we would go out and be honest, if we go out and be honest with them and say, "Yeah, this is what I did, and I know it wasn't the right thing to do, so I'm trying to let you know now to avoid it." You got to be honest.
What if that kid though, Chuck? That kid already got the big head and he feels like he's the man of the house. And here you come trying to tell him how to be a man. He looking at you like, who the hell you think you talking to? I'm already there, brother. I'm taking care of my mom. I'm providing money for her every damn day. What are you doing other than trying to tell me what to do? That's what that child is saying to you.
How many young men are out there doing that today without committing a crime?
Doing what?
Taking care of their mother.
Taking care of their mom.
Yeah.
Very few.
Without committing a crime.
Very few grabbing that lawnmower and heading across town. You ain't gonna find them out there today. They don't even know how to start a damn lawnmower, less known change a tire on a car or damn check the oil level or some mediocre shit that we take for granted, they're not gonna learn how to do that stuff because that man ain't there to show them how to do
Okay,
it.
and now let me
What's
say
a
this.
half-inch box in opening?
Let me interject this right quick because that is exactly where my friend Kevin Lewis. He's another brother that's interested in the Save Our Sons program, and he was already kind of promoting it before I talked to him about it, because I asked him, I said, well, where'd you get this from? Because I was thinking I'm the first one that brought it to San Antonio from Paul Quinn College in Waco. But he was talking about it, but then I said, okay, I'm good. Let's partner up, you know? And he was talking about doing the same thing that you were talking about the boys don't know how to do now. Change a flat tire, check the battery, check the water and the oil and all that kind of stuff. Things that men need to know how to do. So they get that part of the program they was talking about putting together through the it's not the Nation of Islam, but I was telling you about the other day, was to get with a dealership and take a bunch of boys out there and start letting them change tires, jack up the cars, change the tires, break the nuts, teaching the safety rules and all that kind of stuff. Take a group of boys out there and do that for them. That's part of the teaching them how to be a man.
They won't do it. It's too much a liability.
Huh?
They won't let you bring them out there because it'll take months to coordinate it.
Oh yeah, well, it might take months to coordinate. You might have to be bonded. You might have to have some liability insurance. Mm-hmm. You know, but if they're gonna step in the way because we're trying to train our young men to be men, then we don't need to spend our money with them. You know, that's the bottom line. We buy cars from you. We want to teach our sons how to take care of this car. You should be interested in letting some of your professional mechanics come out there and do it. Well, all we tell you is just give us the space.
All right, so you got a 9-year-old boy, and his daddy ain't at home. The mother has raised him, and he may know his daddy, may not know his daddy. But he know men, but yet he's not receptive to men. So what is your thought about that when the boy, no matter what, is not receptive to what the man tries to instill on him?
You know, that's something that I must do with my little 4-year-old great grandson right now. Sometimes I leave the house, I tell him, all right, now, boy, you're the man of the house now. Take care of your grandma.
Is that what you telling him?
Huh?
You telling him that?
I'm getting around to why I think that that's a bad mistake. Because now I'm putting a 4-year-old over the adult in the house and telling him to protect the adult. When I'm not in the home, my wife is the next authoritarian in that house, and she's there to protect. So it's not a good idea to tell a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old that they're the man of the house. Now you got to protect your parents, your mother and father, grandmother. You know,
yeah.
That might be a good. There may be a point in time when you will start telling a young man that, maybe about around the time when he's about 15, 16 years old, beginning to come into young manhood. You know, it may be a time when you can start telling them that and he can actually do that.
But see, y'all, one thing that y'all don't, this is a tough subject because I think you guys are afraid to deal with what I'm talking about. Look at the education system. Look at all the man type jobs that left the education system: carpentry, automotive.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
He froze out.
All right, you froze, Claude. Come back in when you can and finish that statement. But that's another thing. We've lost automotive mechanic. We've lost vocational high school.
Yeah.
We've lost painting. I mean, we had all that in elementary school. It was just that good. I mean, back then. But why did they systematically start pulling all that stuff out of school?
Right.
Like you were saying, Claude, why did they do that?
I think it was to emasculate black men. I think it was to get them out of public education because they were dominant in at least in black schools. and and so I think that's all part of that racist evolution, if you will. I mean, look at the school systems now. Everybody from the principal on down is female
And white.
and white, and even in the black schools. My wife works at a predominantly Hispanic school, and you know how Hispanic males can be, but every educator in that female. There's no males in that school.
That's
So
pretty sad.
I mean,
And
so
if it is some males in there, there ain't no black males in there.
and there are no black males in any of the schools. I mean, probably look around in San Antonio and tell me how many black males you find in the school district that serves the East Side. And
I don't know too.
you don't even have those opportunities for those kind of conversations that black boys need to hear.
I guess you said it's not proportionate to the culture. You might have 100 black kids and one black teacher, but 100 white kids and 20 black white teachers. You know, the proportions are not right.
It's not so much a black and white thing. I'm talking about the male and female dynamics.
There are black men in the education system. I know, and Justin up here, I think right now, Dr. Fields or somebody like that is the president of the board at Justin Independent School District. And the Fields.
I'm not talking about the board. I'm not talking about the school board. I'm talking about what the participation of black
principals. They had black principals up in there. There's some black.
They got black principals. Their assistant principals get in charge of discipline and that kind of stuff. You don't have the. They're there for a specific reason. It's just like the cop on the street. They're there for control. They're not there for
and that's what they're doing with some of the black teachers now. They're putting them over special ed. They're putting them over disciplinary units. They're not putting them in the mainstream classroom.
No. Well, whether it's education or growth development or opportunity to sit down and learn, they're not putting them in those kind of environments. They've taken a lot, like I say, is the whole structure of society, Chuck, I think is anti-male and anti-black male.
Real.
And now if you got the resources, if you got a little money where you can send your kids to camps, where you can fill in those gaps. But what if you don't have that kind of money to fill in those gaps? What if you don't have the Jack and Jill money
But the last 10 minutes of the show, let's come up with 3 things we can do to change the trajectory right now. What would be 3 things that we could do to change which way these boys are headed? Because they're headed right to the pipeline, to the prison. That's where they're going. Because they're not hearing what we're telling them. And they're going to be in prison before they reach 20, or they're going to be dead. And if we don't come up with a system or something that we can try and implement, then they're not going to ever change. So what do you think could be 3 possible things that we can implement that would make them turn around? Anything.
I don't know.
I was gonna say start with the family, put the family back in order.
See, that's a tall order, Chuck. You know, that sounds like a politician.
Continue to put a Band-Aid on it. You ain't gonna
put the family back in order.
Gotta have something. Gotta have something that's gonna be solid. That's gonna be traditional. Stop breaking the traditions. See, when we have a problem when we are setting ourselves up. When our young people get to a certain point, they say, "Okay, it's my time now. I'm gonna do it this way." They broke the tradition, and we keep breaking the tradition. So set a tradition, practice it, and focus on raising.
So you're saying they already lost, the ones that are out there, they lost?
They are, we can do help as many as that want to be helped. But for the long run, that's why I say for the long run, we need to start practicing, teaching these young men their purpose on this earth. You see? And teaching them how to be the head of their home, how to build a home. The women should do the same thing with the young girls. Teach them what their role is in the family. They are a nurturer. They're not a provider. You know, when daddy whoop that butt, they go to mama to get nurtured. Oh, come on, baby. I know he loves you. I know it hurt him more than it hurts you, but he loves you. But they go to mom to get nurtured. You know, that is the discipline. So when we put the family back in order, and then mom, instead, yeah, I support a woman to go home and get an education and everything, but during the childbearing years, she needs to be at home with the children, conditioning them, preparing them for their life journey.
Let me ask you a question, Chuck. Who do you which I would say, babe, one of the things we need to do is vote. But the other thing I think, which party has the best pro-family agenda?
No, neither
Chuck?
one. Neither one.
Well, choose. I mean, you only got two, so which one has the better pro-family agenda?
If that was on the ballot, I wouldn't vote on it. Neither
I
one.
don't know the answer to that, Claude. I mean, that is a super heavyweight question there.
Neither one.
Question holds volume because I don't know who can answer that. You know? Do you know the answer to it?
It can't be the Democrats.
Well,
It
I'm
can't
not.
be
I'm
the
not.
Democrats.
I'm not saying that. I'm
Republicans claim they do.
I mean, most of these issues we're having come out of Democratic families, right? I mean, most of our neighborhoods and most of our voters and most of the people that vote are Democrats. So, is the problem? I mean, is the
I don't think the problem is political.
Democratic Party?
I don't think it's
the
political.
problems that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I don't think it's political, bro.
No, yes, it is political.
Not
You
now. Not
can't
now.
take politics out of nothing we do in this country.
I know, not now. It's not political now. It's up to us. It's up to us to empower ourselves.
Well, Bay has mentioned one of the things that we can do, and I thought about, voting is one of the things that we should do because I think it's important.
Voting is a powerhouse. Yeah.
It would be nice if every child could have a sponsor, a black male sponsor, that no black child out of whatever number out of that 42 million African Americans, every black child should have a sponsor, a tutor.
Are you talking about the ones that's existing today?
No, I mean the kids that are on the street late at night, the kids with weapons, the kids that are doing all of the stuff that we're talking about. Obviously, they don't have nobody in their lives to prevent them from doing those kinds of things.
Change the way they're heading.
Okay,
nobody's telling them that you shouldn't be doing this.
Okay, that's a kind of a short-term solution as opposed to my long-term solution. Okay, long-term goals, short-term goals, intermediate goals.
Well, with short-term,
I can see that it being.
Well, I'm just trying to stick with what Bay asked, because what can we do? President Obama's, what's that program that he came up with?
My brother's keeper.
Yeah, how effective is that?
If you got a spectrum that black man in America, the road to the 2024 election, it's on.
How effective do y'all think my brother's keepers has been in terms of addressing the problems that we're talking about?
Yeah, it seemed to be very somewhat successful in places like Chicago, but now here I was going to speak about it a few minutes ago. Here in San Antonio, where he put over $400 and some million into the footprint right over there on the east side of San Antonio, they do have a boys' school, all boys' school over there. I think Diop put that over there, and I think that's what's funding it. But but you don't hear too much about the successes that's coming out of it.
What is the purpose of an all-boys school?
I think
all-girls school, for that matter.
Right. Well, I think boys and girls, at some points, I don't know. I think it's hard to deal with them together, and when you're trying to raise them and educate them. Boys are a little bit different from girls. Girls a little bit different from boys, and you get them confused, I think. So I think an all boys school in the beginning, and then graduated over.
So you saying a woman can't effectively raise a young boy?
A woman can't effectively raise a young boy?
Right.
Nah, to a certain extent, she can. But I still think that boy needs a good, strong role model in his life in the beginning. I think in elementary school, we need some strong role models. Then, when they get into, and maybe even through, maybe we shouldn't bring them together till they get into high school.
Mhm.
You know, and because elementary, we start to lose them in junior high school. We start losing them, and we have a lot of problems there with them in junior high school. And really, they don't mellow out until they become a junior in high school. We had a real problem with Justin, because Justin had two high schools. They had a intermediate high school, which is the 9th and 10th graders, and then they had the senior high school, which is the 11th and 12th graders that came out of the intermediate school. But the intermediate school took the feeders from all the different junior high schools. All of those went to that intermediate high school, the 9th and 10th graders. And they put these kids in there, and they've been rivals against each other all through this year junior high thing and sports and everything.
What's the point, though, Chuck? What's your
They
point?
just have fights and fights and fights and fights on that campus.
Well,
They brought them all together.
we've talked about it for a good hour or so, and our biggest point is the man of the house when there's no real man in the house. I think our young boys right now have got to get mentored by us some kind of way.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to interject ourselves either through a school program, some type of program, but it's going to have to be with school. But you know what? All these boys haven't been back to school since COVID.
Man,
I mean, many of our kids, huh?
I stopped in Mississippi. We stopped in Mississippi on the way to Alabama, and we stopped at McDonald's, and there was a young black male at the window, and his understanding and education level was indicative of what's wrong with public education. I mean, he couldn't take an order. He couldn't repeat the order back. This was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is the education. I think the education system has failed black boys. And I think unless there are some drastic changes, it will continue to fail black boys because the whole structure of public education has changed so drastically from the days that we were in public education. I can name male teachers that I had. I'm sure you could too, babe.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably name a multitude of male black men.
I can name a whole bunch of them because I remember all of them.
I can name a bunch. Probably the generation after me can name a bunch, but after that,
seemed like the bottom fell out of the pan or something, didn't it? Because everything just changed. The man of the house is a thing that I think need to be done away with these children, and we as adults right now got to figure out a way to get around it, to get these kids back online. So right now we've been here an hour, so I want to ask you, both of you, to give me your closing comments before we proceed to close, and take as long as you want.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I went first the last time. You go first.
Well, this is a tough issue. I mean, it's a very tough issue. It's a very complicated issue. I think roles have changed. I think black men in general are not fulfilling their responsibilities like we've done in the past. I don't think that we I don't think that we do the mentoring and the tutoring. I used to volunteer at schools, go in and talk to the kids and different stuff. I haven't done that in a while. I haven't been asked to do it in a while. I think our education system and our political system are going to be the two instruments that solve this problem on a mass basis. I mean, we see pictures. Look at the young people, what they're doing in Oakland. Look at the young people in San Francisco. Look at the young people in Jackson, in Birmingham. I mean, it's the same problem throughout the country. So I think it's a national problem. I think if this was happening to any other group of Americans, look how we're dealing with fentanyl, how it affects white kids. If what's happening to black young people were happening to any other group, Asians, Hispanics, or any other group, there'd be a national outcry. There'd be a national convening. And we don't have that sense of urgency. We don't see it as that level of importance. The CBC is meeting in September. I've seen their agenda. This issue is not on their agenda. How often do your local politicians there in San Antonio talk about the plight of young black men?
Don't hear.
So I think we have to speak up. I think we have to speak out. I think we have to put these issues. I mean, the whole purpose of this gathering every week is to elevate these issues and create a dialogue and get people to start thinking and addressing the kind of issues that everybody just want to keep under the table, keep quiet. Because as long as it's a black thing, as long as it's black boys being destroyed, you're never gonna, unless black men speak out about it, unless the NAACP, the Urban League, the Congressional Black Caucus, all these so-called organizations that are there for black people say this is a problem, America, and go and tell people like Joe Biden that it takes more than saying if you ain't black, if you ain't black, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
It's going to take more than that. All right, Chuck, are you ready?
Oh yeah. Is Claude frozen? Did he finish?
He froze.
Did he finish?
I don't know. He might want to say something else.
Okay.
Go ahead. I don't want to.
All right. Well, my closing, my picture, my vision is that I see two different types of black youth in America. I see the ones that was raised by well-educated parents with good careers and money that can get their kids educated and ready for society and to go to school and do good and throughout the world, you know. Then I see the ones that missed the boat, fell through the cracks, and are struggling. And when we talk about the kids and the families that are torn apart, we're talking about the ones that are at the bottom of the well. You know, that's where the biggest problems are. Those youth that's coming from those well-rounded families are doing pretty good. So that's why I say, in poverty, there's two reasons for people to commit a crime, and I call it a need and a greed. So we can take away the need to commit a crime. We can cut crime rates big time, cut the prison rates and all that kind of stuff big time. But as long as people are trying to raise a family on $15 an hour, $20 an hour, and the minimum wage in America is only $7.25 an hour, and corporate America is keeping them up here, so we'll pay them this, but don't raise the minimum wage to where it should be. The minimum wage, in order for a family of four to raise their children the right way and get them educated and do all the things that we're obligated to do in this country right now, minimum wage got to be at least $25 to $30 an hour. You see? And
But I can't just leave that there, Chuck, because see, I totally and this is political. If you raise people at the bottom of the well, like we like to say, they may only be getting $10 an hour, but they're getting free groceries, free medical, free dental. And if that minimum wage go above a certain amount, they don't get any of that.
Who benefits from that?
No, but what I'm saying is
Who benefits from it?
Right now, the people at the bottom of the well are benefiting from that.
No, give them people some pride. Give them people some respect. Give them the opportunity to take care of themselves.
I'm just saying that bureaucrats sometimes talk
about the safety net, the trickle down economy, the safety net doesn't work. So, okay, so that's the way it is. Then that's why we, the people in the well, have got to come up with a solution of our own in order to pull ourselves up out of the well. Because ain't nobody going to throw us a rope down there.
Claude, was you finished? I didn't think you were finished. When you were talking, you froze up.
I hear that thing about the minimum wage all the time. And the people that talk about the minimum wage do not talk about the people that are not out there fighting for an increase in the minimum wage, because they're not going to cut their throat. They're not going to cut off all the different assistance and program they get at a certain income level for a $2 raise increase from $7 to $9. You will have to change the whole structure of how government provides services to people at the bottom of the well. Don't talk about go from $7 to $9 an hour, and people lose their health care, lose their subsistence for this, lose their education, lose all those different services that government do provide. It ain't people at the bottom of the well that keeps complaining about minimum wage. It's working class people. It's labor people. Them ain't the same people.
These people at the bottom of the well gonna have to come up one way or another. We're gonna have to get them up out of that well. But I heard a couple of things, and despite both parents being in the home, despite single mother raising a son, despite all the efforts we think we can come up with, I think there are too many brotherly organizations out there for children to not have some type of mentorship going. We got 100 Black Men, we got the Alphas, we got the Omegas, we got the Zetas, we got everybody and a mama holding Black organizations accountable. We even got the Masons, all these organizations, and they all claim they got a youth thing. Look at what we saw today, the NAACP, with the youth boys over there at the library. Not really one or two boys and 3 adults. I mean, that's very sad for the youth branch of the NAACP.
One little Hispanic boy and 3 adults.
And a little Hispanic.
One with 1 Black in there.
Yeah.
Black female.
The other one wasn't Black.
Get that makeup.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to close with the Black News Network. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Black News Network. I want to thank my co-host, Chuck Slaughter, and Mr. Claude Foster. I mean, they have done a great job participating in this discussion on the man of the house. And one other thing I think is very, very important. Do we work for the government? The government work for us. We had that discussion a few hours ago, and I think that will be a big decision to make for us to decide who really is in charge. I mean, when the government was set up to be for us, but is that really the case? So let's think about it and come back next week and decide who works for who. But I really know that we work for the government, even though it's supposed to be the other way around. Some other people will say, no, the government works for us. we'll find out when we have our discussion. So do
Yeah,
some
we
research.
we work for the government, but the politicians are supposed to work for us. The politicians is not the government.
I don't want to discuss it today, Chuck.
But
We're
look,
gonna discuss it next week. But this is the end of the show. So thank you, Mr. Slaughter, and thank you, Mr. Claude, for joining the Black News Network, BNN 247. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, X us on X, whatever that is. Do the other stuff too. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on the Black News Network.
One more point. I noticed you said something about we hadn't had a female on here yet. I put a call out today so we could have our first female host. Come on into Bia. And I think we need to put it on there on mental health. We need to talk about mental health in the Black community next. One of these days. Okay, it needs to be on the thing. So we got a females coming on.
Good topic. We'll do it.
We got them.
So with that, join us again next Sunday at 3:30 p.m. for the men on the Black News Network with one more.
Peace out.
Y'all have a great day.
Man, I like that one, bro.